Most people planning retirement abroad are all staring at the same map. Portugal, Spain, Italy, maybe Mexico if they're feeling adventurous. And look, those places are beautiful. But here's the problem nobody talks about. Millions of other people had the exact same idea. Prices exploded, visa rules tightened, the dream got expensive fast. So what if I told you there's still a place where English is everywhere, the food is incredible, the people are warm, and you can retire, actually retire, on $1,600 a month? Here's what nobody tells you about retiring abroad in 2026. Portugal exploded. Spain got expensive. Italy filled up. The places that used to absorb retirees on modest budgets got discovered. And with that discovery came prices that defeated the entire purpose. The Philippines quietly remained different. English is everywhere here, not just in hotels, but in hospitals, grocery stores, and everyday conversations. There's a deep American cultural connection that makes settling in feel less foreign than almost anywhere else in Asia. Healthcare costs a fraction of what you'd pay stateside, and established expat communities mean you're never figuring things out completely alone. But here's what most Philippines retirement content gets wrong. It treats the country like a single experience. It isn't. Manila is nothing like Dumaguete. Baguio is nothing like Davao. This ranking isn't about cheapest, it's about value, measuring housing, healthcare, climate, safety, community, and long-term livability together. Number 7. Manila and BGC. Manila is almost always the first place people think of when they think Philippines. It's the capital. It's the most internationally connected city in the country. And if you're flying in for the first time, landing at Ninoy Aquino International Airport and heading into Bonifacio Global City, what everyone calls BGC, you might actually think you've landed somewhere in Singapore. Glass towers, perfectly maintained sidewalks, upscale restaurants where a meal costs what a meal would cost in an American city. It's polished, it's modern, and it comes with a price tag that reflects all of that. Here's what Manila genuinely gets right. When it comes to healthcare, it is simply in a different league from the rest of the country. The best hospitals in the Philippines are here. Makati Medical Center, St. Luke's Medical Center. These are institutions with internationally trained doctors, modern equipment, and the kind of specialist access that you might genuinely need as you age. If you have complex, ongoing medical needs, heart conditions, serious chronic illness, anything that requires regular specialist attention, Manila's healthcare infrastructure is a genuine advantage that's very hard to replicate elsewhere in the country. Beyond healthcare, Manila offers things that matter practically. Every embassy is here. If you need US government services, consular assistance, anything official, Manila is where you go. International banks, international shipping, global brand availability. The full infrastructure of a connected global city exists here in a way it simply doesn't in smaller cities. BGC specifically has evolved into one of the most livable urban environments in the Philippines. Grocery stores stocked like American supermarkets, parks, pedestrian-friendly streets, a level of urban planning that feels genuinely intentional. But here's where the math gets uncomfortable. When you're working with a $1,600 monthly budget, Manila, and BGC especially, starts eating into that number fast. A decent one-bedroom apartment in BGC runs anywhere from $700 to $1,000 a month, sometimes more. Add utilities, food, and transportation, and you're pushing right against your ceiling before you've even factored in entertainment or healthcare costs. And then there's the traffic. Manila traffic isn't inconvenient, it's life-altering. Stories of commutes lasting 3 hours each way are not exaggerations, they're Tuesday. Getting across the city for a doctor's appointment can turn into a half-day expedition. For retirees who expected to spend their mornings exploring and their afternoons relaxing, spending those hours motionless in traffic is a specific kind of misery. The noise and pollution compound everything. BGC insulates you somewhat, but step outside its carefully managed boundaries and you're back in one of the most densely packed megacities in Southeast Asia. For retirees who crave peace, who left the American rat race specifically to find stillness, Manila can feel like they traded one form of stress for another. Manila gives you access. World-class healthcare and the full convenience of a global city. But if the goal is to stretch a $1,600 monthly budget while actually enjoying a calmer life, Manila is working against you more than it's working for you. That's why it sits at number 7. Number 6. Cebu City. Cebu solves a lot of Manila's most obvious problems, and creates a few of its own in the process. Cebu City is the second largest city in the Philippines, sitting on the central island of Cebu, and it has spent the last 2 decades building itself into a genuine alternative to Manila for both business and retirement. And in a lot of ways, it succeeds. Start with what Cebu does better than Manila. The pace is slower. Not dramatically, not rural slow, but noticeably more human scale than the relentless grind of Metro Manila. You can actually get across the city without losing a full morning. People move, things flow, at least some of the time. The expat community in Cebu is large and well established, which matters more than people initially realize. When you're new to a country, having a network of people who've already figured out the local doctors, the best neighborhoods, the trustworthy landlords, the visa paperwork, that knowledge community is genuinely valuable. Cebu has that. There are retiree groups, expat forums, regular meetups. You don't have to figure everything out from zero. Healthcare in Cebu is strong by Philippine standards. Changhua Hospital and Cebu Doctors University Hospital are both well-regarded institutions. You won't find the breadth of specialist care that Manila offers, but for most routine and moderately complex healthcare needs, Cebu handles things well. And Mactan Cebu International Airport gives you direct access to international flights, making getting back to the US manageable when you need to. The island access is another real lifestyle advantage. From Cebu, you can reach dozens of beautiful islands relatively quickly. Bohol is just a ferry ride away, Moalboal for diving. If part of your retirement dream involves weekend island adventures, Cebu's geographic position makes that easier than almost anywhere else in the country. But here's what's changed about Cebu in the last several years. Housing costs have climbed significantly. A comfortable one-bedroom in a good area, IT Park, Lahug, Banilad, can run $500 to $800 a month now. That's not outrageous, but it's no longer the bargain it once was. Restaurants catering to expats and tourists charge expat and tourist prices. If you're not careful about where you shop and eat, Cebu's cost of living advantage over Manila shrinks more than you'd expect. And the traffic, while better than Manila, has gotten genuinely worse over the years. Cebu's road infrastructure hasn't scaled with its population growth, and certain corridors during peak hours feel increasingly Manila-like in their congestion. Cebu is a genuinely strong retirement city. Good healthcare, great expat community, beautiful surroundings, real airport access. But the next city on this list delivers a similar quality of lifestyle at a cost that's noticeably lower, and that difference adds up to real money over time. Number 5. Subic and Clark. Subic Bay and Clark aren't really cities in the traditional sense. They're former American military bases converted into special economic zones, and that history shapes absolutely everything about what it's like to live there. Walk through Subic Bay Freeport Zone and you immediately feel it. The roads are wider and better maintained than almost anywhere else in the Philippines. The street layout makes logical sense, because it was designed with American military planning standards, not organic Filipino urban growth. There's a certain orderliness to the infrastructure that you genuinely don't encounter in most Philippine cities. Traffic, while not absent, is manageable in a way that feels almost alien compared to Manila or Cebu. English is everywhere, and not just the functional English of customer service. The deep American cultural influence means communication feels easier in ways both obvious and subtle. The food options reflect this too. Familiar Western chains and restaurants exist alongside local Filipino options, which for retirees not ready to completely abandon American food culture, provides a certain psychological ease. The cost structure here is genuinely appealing. Housing in Subic runs meaningfully lower than Manila or Cebu. A comfortable apartment or even a small house can fit well within your budget, leaving room for a lifestyle that feels abundant rather than constrained. Groceries and local food are affordable. Utilities are reasonable. But here's the honest tension with this area, and it's the reason it sits at number 5 rather than higher. The lifestyle, for many retirees, eventually starts to feel flat. Because these zones were built around military and industrial functions, the organic cultural richness that makes a city feel alive, the festivals, the art scenes, the restaurant neighborhoods that emerge naturally over generations, is thinner here. You have infrastructure without soul, in a sense. The expat community exists, but is smaller and less diverse than what you'd find in Cebu or Dumaguete. Social connection matters enormously in retirement, and a smaller community means fewer events, fewer opportunities to build friendships. Some retirees find this perfectly fine. Others find themselves restless after 6 months, wondering why the place that looked so good on paper feels a bit empty in practice. The climate is also relentlessly hot and humid, without the cooling escape that a mountainous city like Baguio provides. Subic and Clark are genuinely practical. The infrastructure works, the costs are manageable. The American cultural connection is real. But City Which is Next offers something almost impossible to find anywhere in Southeast Asia. And once you hear it, you'll understand why it changes the retirement calculus entirely. Number 4, Baguio. Here's the thing about Baguio that hits you the moment you arrive, especially if you've been anywhere else in the Philippines first. You step out of your car after climbing the mountain road, and the air is different. Actually, genuinely different. Cool, sometimes cold. You might need a light jacket. In a country where the rest of the year feels like standing inside a hairdryer, that sensation is almost shockingly pleasant. And for retirees who find oppressive heat genuinely miserable, Baguio represents something rare, a Philippine city where the climate is actually comfortable. Baguio sits at roughly 1,500 meters above sea level in the Cordillera mountain range of northern Luzon. Its average temperature hovers between 15 and 23 degrees Celsius, roughly 60 to 73 Fahrenheit, which is practically perfect for daily outdoor living. You can walk without immediately sweating through your clothes. You can sleep at night without an air conditioner running constantly, which also means lower electricity bills than you'd face in hotter lowland cities. The pine forests surrounding the city add a visual quality that feels genuinely unlike anywhere else in the Philippines. The university presence shapes the culture in ways that matter for retirees. Multiple major universities mean the city has an intellectual energy, a younger professional population, and a more cosmopolitan atmosphere than you'd expect. English proficiency is high. There are bookstores, galleries, cafes with good coffee, the kind of cultural texture that makes a city feel like somewhere you actually want to spend time. Walkability is better than most Philippine cities, and housing costs remain meaningfully lower than Manila or Cebu. So why is Baguio at number 4 and not higher? The wet season is serious. Heavy, sustained rainfall can last for days. Landslides are a genuine risk during intense rainfall events. For retirees planning to age in place, mountain roads and extreme weather create transportation vulnerabilities that a flat, lowland city simply doesn't have. Getting in and out of Baguio is genuinely complicated. The road up is famous for its traffic, especially on weekends. For retirees who need regular specialist medical care, which is a real concern because the city's healthcare options are adequate but not comprehensive, that access challenge becomes a real quality of life issue. Number 3, Iloilo. I want to be honest with you about something. Going into this comparison, Iloilo kept coming up in conversations with retirees who'd spent time in the Philippines. People mentioned it casually, almost as an aside. Oh, have you looked at Iloilo? And I'll be real, I didn't expect much. I expected a nice enough mid-sized city, maybe slightly cheaper than Cebu, probably missing a few things that make a city truly livable. I did not expect it to be this. Iloilo City sits on the western coast of Panay Island in the Visayas, and the first thing that strikes you is how clean it is. Not clean for the Philippines, clean by any standard. The riverfront development along the Iloilo River, the Esplanade, is genuinely beautiful. Wide promenades, maintained landscaping, waterfront restaurants and cafes, people jogging in the mornings. It has the feel of a city that's proud of itself and actively investing in livability. The economy has been one of the faster growing in the Philippines, driven by business process outsourcing and a strong university presence. That economic growth matters for retirees because it means the city continues to invest in itself. New restaurants, better roads, improving healthcare infrastructure, these things follow economic activity. Iloilo is on a trajectory, not stagnating. Healthcare is better than most people expect for a city this size, handling routine and moderate complexity needs well. Iloilo International Airport connects to Manila, Cebu, and a growing number of international destinations, meaning you're not stranded when you need to travel. Housing remains genuinely affordable. A comfortable one-bedroom in a good neighborhood runs $350 to $550 a month. At that level, your $1,100 monthly budget feels spacious. The food culture is famous throughout the Philippines. La Paz Bak Choy alone is worth the move. You're not roughing it, you're actually living. The honest limitations. Nightlife is limited. International flight connections trail Cebu and Manila, and rising economic growth is gradually pushing housing prices upward. The window where Iloilo is dramatically underpriced may be narrowing, which is actually an argument for considering it sooner rather than later. I expected Iloilo to be fine. I didn't expect it to be one of the most genuinely balanced retirement cities in the entire country. Number 2, Davao. When people think of Mindanao, the large southern island where Davao is located, the mental association is sometimes one of concern rather than excitement. There's a historical reputation for instability in parts of Mindanao that has followed the region even as the reality changed significantly. And that gap between perception and current reality is exactly why Davao ranks this high, and why so many retirees who actually visit end up seriously reconsidering their preconceptions. Davao City is frequently cited as one of the most orderly and well-managed major cities in the Philippines. It operates with a level of organization and civic discipline that stands out. Strict local ordinances have historically contributed to a cleaner, more regulated public environment. Smoking and drinking in public are tightly controlled. Noise ordinances are actually enforced. For retirees dreaming of a city that actually functions, where rules mean something, Davao has a reputation that precedes it. The healthcare infrastructure is strong. As a major regional economic center serving all of Mindanao, Davao has invested in medical infrastructure at a level that reflects its role. Southern Philippines Medical Center is a major facility, and numerous private hospitals serve the city well. For retirees in the southern Philippines, Davao is the healthcare hub people come to for complex care. Here's something else that matters for retirement: typhoons. Davao, because of its position south of the main typhoon belt, experiences significantly lower typhoon exposure than most of the country. That relative shelter from major storm systems is a genuine practical advantage that affects both safety and peace of mind. The cost of living balances nicely. Housing runs $400 to $600 a month in good neighborhoods. The food scene is excellent. Fruits from Mindanao are extraordinarily fresh and cheap, a small but genuinely delightful daily pleasure. But Davao has real challenges. The distance from Manila creates friction for embassy visits and government services. Some retirees find the social culture more conservative than expected. And the heat is consistent and relentless, year-round, without any mountain escape. Davao gets almost everything right: safety, healthcare, cost, typhoon risk, infrastructure. The scorecard is genuinely impressive. But one city still manages to offer a retirement lifestyle that, on balance, beats it on this specific budget. Number 1, Dumaguete. There's something that happens when you spend time in Dumaguete. It sneaks up on you. You arrive expecting a small provincial city, reasonably nice, probably fine, and somewhere between your second morning coffee on Rizal Boulevard, watching the sea, and your third conversation with a retiree who moved here from Ohio and has absolutely no regrets, you start to understand what makes this place different. It's not the most impressive city on paper. It doesn't have the best hospital in the country, the airport is small, and none of that ends up mattering the way you think it will. Dumaguete sits on the southeastern coast of Negros Oriental, looking across the strait towards Cebu Island. The city has a university town character. Silliman University, one of the oldest in the Philippines, sits right in the city center and has shaped the culture here for over a century. That university influence produces something specific and valuable: high English fluency, a culture of intellectual engagement, and a general openness and cosmopolitan attitude that many smaller cities lack. When you walk around Dumaguete, people talk to you, genuinely curious, warm, interested. That's the university town effect. Rizal Boulevard is the emotional heart of the city's retirement appeal. A long waterfront promenade lined with cafes, restaurants, and benches where locals, students, and retirees share the same space naturally. Morning joggers pass afternoon chess players. Elderly expats watch the sunset with cold drinks. For retirees who moved abroad partly to escape isolation, a place where social life happens openly and naturally is worth more than almost any other amenity. The expat community is one of the most established in the entire Philippines. Retirees have been choosing Dumaguete for decades, and that accumulated history shows. Established support networks, regular social events, medical providers who understand expat needs, landlords experienced with foreign tenants. You're not pioneering, you're joining something that already works. The cost numbers are where Dumaguete truly separates itself. Housing runs $300 to $500 a month in good locations. Local food is extraordinarily cheap. Even eating at nicer restaurants several times a week, with occasional splurges and comfortable daily living, $1,100 a month in Dumaguete doesn't feel like a budget. It feels like abundance. The ferry connection to Cebu is a genuine practical lifeline. 2 to 3 hours away, Cebu's airports and hospitals are accessible when you need them. That ferry connection essentially extends Dumaguete's capabilities without requiring you to live in Cebu full-time. The honest picture? Healthcare is adequate for routine needs, but limited for complex conditions. A real consideration for retirees with serious, ongoing medical requirements. The city is small, and retirees who need density of entertainment will eventually feel that. Infrastructure trails larger cities, and internet can be inconsistent. But when I put every factor on the table, cost, lifestyle, community warmth, walkability, the boulevard, the university energy, the ferry lifeline, Dumaguete consistently came out ahead. It isn't perfect, but for a $700 to $1,100 monthly budget that delivers a genuinely full retirement life, Dumaguete is the answer. Now, before you start booking flights, I need you to hear these 3 warnings, because I've watched people make these exact mistakes, and the consequences were real. Trap number 1 is the healthcare gap. Medicare does not cover you outside the United States. Full stop. That means when you retire abroad, you are paying for healthcare yourself, through private international insurance, through local insurance, or cash out of pocket. For the young and healthy, this feels manageable, but retirement health needs change over time. A city that's perfectly fine for your current health situation can become genuinely inadequate 3 or 5 years from now when something more serious develops. Factor healthcare access not just for who you are today, but for who you're likely to be. Choose your city with that future self in mind. Trap number 2 is the weather reality. Typhoons are not a minor inconvenience in the Philippines. They are powerful, sometimes catastrophic weather systems that can disrupt your life for days, damage property, and in serious cases, create genuine danger. Different cities face very different levels of typhoon exposure. This is not fear-mongering. It's basic retirement planning. Climate is not an afterthought. It is a core factor. Trap number 3 is the expat bubble. Here's how it happens. You arrive, you find the expat neighborhood because it feels safe and familiar. You rent in the expat neighborhood. You eat at the expat restaurants. You shop at the places other expats recommend. And 6 months later, you're spending twice what a thoughtful, local integrated lifestyle would cost. The Philippines can be extraordinarily affordable, but that affordability is accessible only if you're willing to learn how locals actually live and shop. Step outside the bubble. It's not just cheaper, it's often richer. The Philippines is not a perfect retirement destination. The infrastructure will frustrate you sometimes. The weather will surprise you. Healthcare quality varies dramatically depending on where you are. These are real things, and anyone telling you otherwise is selling you something. But if you're an American looking for an English-friendly retirement life, somewhere warm, somewhere with community, somewhere your dollars genuinely stretch, the Philippines remains one of the strongest options on Earth in 2026. The cities on this list, from Iloilo's surprising livability to Dumaguete's unbeatable combination of cost and community, offer retirement lives that are genuinely full. Not survival, not compromise. Actually, genuinely full. Pick your city based on healthcare first, then climate, then budget. Rent before you buy anything. Spend at least 3 months in a place before you commit to it long term. And don't assume the cheapest city is automatically the best choice. Value isn't the lowest number. Value is what you actually get for what you spend. Now, if you'd rather skip the visa complexity entirely and start with places where Americans can simply arrive and settle in more easily with fewer bureaucratic hurdles, I've covered exactly that in the next video. Click that. I'll see you there.